The curious mistake. Merchant Prince Calvex sat in his luxurious office aboard his flagship, the Golden Serpent, reviewing profit margins from his latest trade expedition. The Zenthri were known across the galaxy as master merchants, and Calvex was among the wealthiest of his kind. His scales shimmered with the bronze and gold coloring that marked his high status, and his 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he calculated his earnings. The Zenthri believed in one simple principle: wealth equaled power, and power meant freedom from rules that bound lesser beings. Calvex had spent 2 centuries building his trading empire, and he had learned to navigate around almost every galactic regulation. He paid the right bribes, knew which inspectors to avoid, and understood how to exploit every loophole in commercial law. But today, something unusual caught his attention. His legal advisor, a nervous Quillan named Tess, had prepared a report on upcoming regulatory changes. As Calvex scrolled through the document, he noticed something strange. There were new restrictions on trade routes through Saurian space. Updated tariffs for crystalline Confederacy ports. Revised safety protocols for dealing with the telepathic mind weavers. Yet among hundreds of species mentioned, one was completely absent. Humans. Calvex leaned back in his chair, his middle eye narrowing in thought. In all his years of trading, he had encountered humans regularly. They operated colonies across dozens of star systems. Their merchant vessels traveled every major trade route. Their diplomats attended every important galactic gathering. They were everywhere, yet legally, they seemed to exist in a blind spot. He opened his personal database and searched for human-related regulations. Trade restrictions? None. Military protocols? Nothing specific. Diplomatic limitations? Not a single mention. It was as if the galaxy's lawmakers had collectively decided to simply ignore an entire spacefaring civilization. This was more than unusual. This was opportunity. Calvex called Tess into his office. The small, furry Quillan entered cautiously, her large ears twitching nervously. She always seemed anxious around Calvex, which he found annoying but useful. Nervous employees made fewer mistakes. "Tell me about human trade regulations," Calvex said without preamble. Tess's ears flattened against her head. "So, human regulations. Trade laws. Transport restrictions. What applies to them?" I would need to research that, sir. You just prepared a comprehensive legal review and humans were not mentioned once. Surely you noticed this." Tess shifted her weight from foot to foot. "With respect, sir, some things do not need to be written down. Everyone simply knows." Calvex's scales darkened with irritation. "I did not ask what everyone knows. I asked about regulations. There are no specific regulations regarding humans, sir." "Exactly. Which means their shipments are not subject to the usual restrictions. Their cargo does not require the standard inspections. Their vessels can be intercepted without violating territorial treaties." Tess's eyes widened. "Sir, I strongly advise against." "You advise nothing," Calvex interrupted. "You provide information. I make decisions. Now leave." After Tess scurried away, Calvex began his own investigation. He accessed historical records, trade databases, and military archives. What he found was fascinating and frustrating in equal measure. Human ships traveled through pirate-infested space without incident. Human colonies existed in contested territories without being attacked. Human trade vessels carried valuable cargo with minimal security yet never reported losses to theft. It was statistically impossible, yet the records were clear. More interesting were the gaps in the records. 20 years ago, there had been a major criminal organization called the Krell Dominion. They had controlled significant portions of the Outer Rim territories, running protection rackets, smuggling operations, and slave trading networks. Then, suddenly, all records of the Krell simply stopped. No decline, no defeat, no peace treaty. Just silence. Calvex found a single reference in an obscure military intelligence report. The Krell Dominion ceased operations following the Silent Purge. See classified files for details. Warning: do not attempt similar actions. The classified files were inaccessible even with Calvex's considerable resources. But he did not need details. He understood the pattern. Someone had eliminated the Krell completely, and somehow this connected to humans. The galaxy had learned a lesson that was never written down but universally understood. Most beings would have stopped there. Most beings possessed a survival instinct that warned them away from mysteries wrapped in warnings. But Calvex had not become wealthy by following the same cautious path as everyone else. He saw opportunity where others saw danger. Over the following weeks, Calvex gathered information about human shipping schedules. He learned that a human transport vessel called the Meadowlark made regular runs between Earth colony worlds, carrying manufactured goods, medical supplies, and agricultural products. The ship was small, with a crew of only 15. Its defensive capabilities appeared minimal on paper. More importantly, the Meadowlark's next cargo run would pass through the Davos cluster, a region of space technically unclaimed by any government. No territorial violations. No treaty breaches. Just one ship and an opportunity for profit. Calvex assembled a fleet for the operation. Not military vessels that might draw attention, but modified merchant ships equipped with weapons and boarding equipment. He hired experienced mercenaries from various species, paying them well enough to ensure loyalty but not so much that they would ask uncomfortable questions. His second-in-command, a scarred Vorlax warrior named Drask, supervised the preparations. Drask had worked for Calvex for 30 years and knew better than to question orders, but even he seemed uneasy about this particular mission. "The ships are ready," Drask reported. "Crews are briefed. Intercept coordinates are locked in." "Good. Any concerns?" Drask hesitated, his forearms crossing over his armored chest. "The target is human. I am aware. My people have a saying. Some prey is not worth the hunt." Calvex's scales rippled with amusement. "Your people also say that courage is the first step to glory. We are simply conducting a lawful interception of cargo in unclaimed space. Where is the risk?" Drask said nothing, but his expression remained troubled. The interception went exactly as planned initially. The Meadowlark emerged from faster-than-light travel at the predicted coordinates. Calvex's 5 ships surrounded it smoothly, weapons powered but not yet aimed. This was meant to be a business transaction, not a battle. "Human vessel Meadowlark," Calvex transmitted. "This is Merchant Prince Calvex of the Zenthri Trade Consortium. You are carrying cargo through unclaimed space. By salvage rights, I am claiming your shipment. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." There was a brief pause before a response came. A male human voice, calm and professional. "This is Captain Torres of the Meadowlark. We are a registered civilian transport on a scheduled supply run. Our cargo is documented and insured. There is no legal basis for this interception. In unclaimed space, possession is the only law," Calvex replied smoothly. "I am offering fair compensation for your cargo. This does not need to become unpleasant." Another pause. Then, "Very well. We will cooperate. Shutting down engines now." It was almost disappointing how easily the human surrendered. Calvex watched as the Meadowlark's engine signatures dimmed. The ship hung motionless in space, seemingly helpless. "Drask, send the boarding teams," Calvex ordered. As the boarding craft launched, one of the mercenaries made a casual comment over the open communication channel. "Captain Torres, we will be conducting a full inventory. That includes checking your passenger manifest. Are there any valuable small humans aboard? Children fetch good prices on some markets." It was meant as a crude joke, the kind of dark humor common among criminals. But Calvex noticed something change immediately. Captain Torres's voice came back, but it was different now. The professional courtesy was gone, replaced by something cold and precise. "Repeat your last statement." The mercenary, not sensing the shift, laughed. Just asking if you have kids aboard. Worth more than cargo sometimes. Stand by, Captain Torres said. Then the human ship began to change. Panels slid open along the Meadowlark's hull, revealing equipment that had not appeared on any scan. Energy readings spiked dramatically. Systems that should not exist on a civilian transport suddenly powered up with signatures that made Calvex's instruments scream warnings. What is happening? Calvex demanded. Captain Torres spoke again, his voice now carrying an edge that made Calvex's scales itch with instinctive fear. Computer, confirm the hostile force mentioned children. A synthesized voice responded. Confirmed. Threat assessment updated. Citadel Protocol 9 is now authorized. Execute protocol, Torres said quietly. The boarding craft stopped moving. Not slowed, not turned back, just stopped as if they had hit an invisible wall. Inside Calvex's flagship, every system began reporting malfunctions simultaneously. Weapons would not respond. Navigation was frozen. Communication channels jammed except for one frequency that carried only Captain Torres's voice. Merchant Prince Calvex, Torres said. You have made a critical error. You threatened human children. This is not negotiable territory. This is not a business dispute. This is now a species-level response situation. We did not threaten anyone, Calvex protested, fear creeping into his voice. It was just talk. You mentioned taking human children. In our culture, there is no difference between mentioning it and attempting it. Computer, transmit priority alert to all human settlements and vessels. Code Nightingale. Calvex watched in horror as his sensors detected a signal burst from the Meadowlark. It was not normal radio or laser communication. It was quantum entanglement transmission, a theoretical technology that allowed instant communication across any distance. The signal went out to every human colony, station, and ship in the galaxy simultaneously. And they all answered. Within minutes, Calvex's instruments detected ships entering the system. Human ships, dozens of them, appearing from faster-than-light travel in a coordinated response that should have been impossible. These were not military vessels. They were colony transports, research ships, merchant haulers, and family cruisers. But each one revealed the same hidden capabilities that the Meadowlark had shown. Captain Torres, Calvex tried desperately. This is a misunderstanding. We have not harmed anyone. We can negotiate. There is nothing to negotiate, Torres replied. You pointed weapons at humans and mentioned our children. The galaxy is about to remind you why nobody does that twice. More ships continued to arrive. Hundreds now. Thousands. Coming from every corner of human space, dropping out of impossible faster-than-light travel with precision that spoke of constant readiness. Every human in the galaxy was responding to the call. And Calvex finally understood the unwritten rule. Humans were not protected by galactic law because they did not need to be. They were protected by something far more powerful, the absolute certainty that threatening one human meant facing all of them. The Meadowlark's Captain Torres spoke one more time. Merchant Prince Calvex, you are now in custody. Your fleet is disabled. Your crew will not be harmed, but you will face consequences. And the galaxy will learn, once again, why the first rule is the only rule that matters. What rule? Calvex whispered. Never bother humans. The answer everyone knew. The holding cell aboard the human vessel was surprisingly comfortable. Calvex had expected a cold prison, restraints, perhaps even torture. Instead, he sat in a well-lit room with adequate space, proper temperature controls, and regular meals. The humans had separated him from his crew but treated him with professional courtesy. This somehow made everything worse. Through a transparent wall, Calvex could see dozens of human ships maintaining position around his disabled fleet. More arrived every hour. The response had not stopped. It had grown. Conservative estimates now put the human presence at over 5,000 vessels, ranging from tiny personal craft to massive colony ships that dwarfed his flagship. They had not fired a single weapon. They simply waited. Captain Torres entered the holding area, carrying a data tablet. He was a middle-aged human with graying hair and tired eyes. He moved with the economy of motion that came from decades in space. Nothing about him seemed particularly threatening, yet Calvex found himself pressing back against the far wall. "Merchant Prince Calvex," Torres said, settling into a chair across from him. "We need to talk about what happens next." "Are you going to kill me?" Calvex asked, hating how his voice trembled. "No. Killing you would solve nothing." Torres tapped his tablet, pulling up files. "Do you know what happened 20 years ago? The event that created the unwritten rule." Calvex shook his head slowly. "Let me tell you a story," Torres said. 20 years ago, the Krell Dominion was the most powerful criminal organization in the galaxy. They controlled thousands of worlds, commanded vast fleets, and operated with impunity. They trafficked in everything illegal, including sentient beings. Torres swiped through images on his tablet. The Krell leadership decided to expand into human space. They saw our colonies as soft targets. We had no major military presence, no aggressive territorial claims, no reputation for violence. We seemed perfect for exploitation. "What did they do?" Calvex asked quietly. "They attacked a colony world called New Providence. It was a small settlement, only about 50,000 people. Farming families, mostly. The Krell landed troops, killed the defenders, and began rounding up colonists for the slave markets." Torres's voice remained calm, but his eyes had gone cold. "They made one critical mistake. They separated the children from their parents." Calvex felt his scales prickle with instinctive dread. "The colony had a distress beacon," Torres continued. "It sent out a simple message: they are taking our children." That message reached Earth and every human settlement simultaneously. What happened next has been classified by every major government in the galaxy, not because humans demanded it, but because they asked us not to share the details. Torres stood and walked to the transparent wall, looking out at the assembled fleet. Within 72 hours of that message, the Krell Dominion ceased to exist. Not defeated. Not scattered. Ceased to exist. Their leadership, their fleets, their bases, their entire infrastructure across 300 star systems simply vanished. "How?" Calvex whispered. "That is the question everyone asks, and the answer is classified. What I can tell you is this: humanity possesses capabilities we keep hidden because we prefer peace. We have technology we do not use because we choose cooperation over domination. We maintain this charade of being ordinary because it allows the galaxy to function without fear." Torres turned back to face Calvex. "But we have one absolute boundary. Our children. Threaten them, and you do not face a government or a military. You face our entire species, acting with singular purpose and unlimited determination." "The Krell had millions of soldiers," Calvex said. "Thousands of warships. And they learned the same lesson you are learning now. Humans are not protected by galactic law because we are the consequence when laws fail. Every species that has tried to harm us has discovered this. The Krell Dominion. The Vexer Collective before them. The Obsidian Raiders. All gone. All removed completely." Torres sat back down, his expression softening slightly. "You are fortunate, Merchant Prince. You made your mistake with words, not actions. Your mercenary was joking, not planning. This gives us room for a different response. What will you do to me? That depends on you. Right now, representatives from every major galactic government are traveling to this location. The Saurian Empire. The Crystalline Confederacy. The Mind Speakers. Even your own Zenthri Trade Council. They are coming to witness what happens when someone breaks the unwritten rule." Calvex's 3 eyes widened. "They are coming to watch you execute me." "No," Torres said. "They are coming to witness an example. You will not die, but you will become a living reminder. The Galactic Council has agreed to create a special status for you. You will be comfortable, you will be safe, but you will spend the rest of your life explaining to others why they should never make your mistake. A prisoner. A teacher. You will live in a facility on a neutral station. You will have access to communication systems. And whenever someone in the galaxy asks why there are no human-specific regulations, why ships avoid human space when planning crimes, why the most feared warriors go quiet when humans are mentioned, you will tell them your story. The door opened and Drask was escorted in by 2 human guards. The Vorlax warrior looked unharmed but deeply shaken. Torres gestured for him to sit. Your second-in-command has agreed to the same arrangement, Torres said. Both of you will serve as living records of this event. Your crews will be released after testimony and rehabilitation. Your ships will be returned to their registered owners or sold for compensation to cover costs. Drask spoke for the first time, his voice hoarse. Why not just kill us? It would be simpler. Torres smiled without humor. Because death would make you martyrs or victims. This way, you become cautionary tales. Every ambitious criminal, every greedy merchant, every would-be conqueror will be able to speak with you directly. They will hear firsthand what happens when you threaten humanity. Over the following days, Calvex watched as representatives from across the galaxy arrived. The Saurian Empire sent Admiral Kraxus, a warrior whose scales bore the scars of 100 battles. The Crystalline Confederacy dispatched Ambassador Lyther, whose crystalline form refracted light in patterns that expressed emotion. The Mind Speakers sent a collective consciousness housed in 3 bodies. Even the Zenthri Trade Council sent representatives, though they refused to meet Calvex's gaze. Torres organized a gathering aboard a massive human colony ship that served as neutral ground. Calvex and Drask were brought before the assembled delegates. The room was vast, filled with beings from dozens of species, all watching in silence. A human woman stepped forward. She was elderly by human standards, with silver hair and skin marked by age. She introduced herself as Fleet Admiral Chen, commander of Earth's defensive forces. Members of the galactic community, she began. We are gathered to address an incident that could have escalated into tragedy. Merchant Prince Calvex attempted to intercept a human civilian vessel and made threats regarding human children. This activated our species-wide defense protocols. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Many looked uncomfortable, as if reminded of something they preferred to forget. We want to be clear about humanity's position, Admiral Chen continued. We seek peace. We value cooperation. We believe in trade, diplomacy, and mutual prosperity. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our established colonies. We make no claims to superiority over other species. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. But we have one absolute principle. Our children are not negotiable. Threaten them, and we respond with our full capabilities. Not as a government. Not as a military. As a species. The Saurian Admiral Kraxus stood, his massive form radiating warrior pride. Admiral Chen, my people respect strength. We understand the protection of offspring. But many here wonder about human capabilities. The Krell Dominion was powerful. How did they fall so completely? Admiral Chen's expression did not change. The details remain classified at the request of this council. What I can share is that humanity possesses technology developed during our own history of conflict. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times before reaching the stars. We learned to create weapons that could end civilizations. We choose not to use them. Why show restraint? Asked Ambassador Lyther, her crystalline voice chiming like bells. If you possess such power, why hide it? Because power without restraint breeds fear, and fear breeds conflict, Admiral Chen replied. We want to live among you as equals, not as overlords or threats. The unwritten rule exists because it allows the galaxy to function peacefully. Most species never test it. Those who do learn quickly. She gestured to Calvex. This individual will serve as a reminder. Not through punishment, but through testimony. He will explain what he experienced, what he learned, and why the rule exists. Calvex was brought forward. His scales had lost their lustrous bronze sheen, turning dull with stress. He looked at the assembled delegates and began to speak. "I thought I was clever," he said quietly. "I saw an opportunity where others saw warning. I believed wealth and cunning could overcome any obstacle. I was wrong." He described the interception, the mistake, the sudden transformation of the meadowlark. He told them about the instant communication, the overwhelming response, the thousands of human ships that appeared within hours. "I learned something that everyone already knew, but I was too arrogant to accept," Calvex continued. "Humans are not weak. They are not vulnerable. They are not opportunities. They are dangerous precisely because they choose not to be. And if you threaten what they love most, they stop choosing restraint." Over the following weeks, a facility was prepared for Calvex and Drask on Harmony Station, the same neutral ground where Ambassador Zethra had once asked her questions. It was comfortable, equipped with communication systems, libraries, and recreational facilities. It was not a prison in the traditional sense. It was something worse. It was a classroom where Calvex would spend the rest of his long life teaching a single lesson. Visitors came regularly. Young warriors seeking glory. Ambitious merchants looking for advantages. Criminal organizers planning operations. Each one heard the same story. Each one left quietly, their plans abandoned. Months turned to years. Calvex watched as ships passed the station, as trade continued, as the galaxy went about its business. Human vessels traveled safely through every region. Human colonies grew without interference. The unwritten rule held firm, enforced not by law but by understanding. One day, a young Zenthri trader came to visit. She reminded Calvex of himself decades ago, ambitious and confident. She asked the question everyone asked. But why does it work? Why does one species get this special treatment? Calvex considered carefully before answering. It is not special treatment. It is a collective decision by the galaxy to avoid extinction-level conflict. Humanity proved they could erase entire civilizations if provoked. But they also proved they prefer peace. The rule exists because both sides agreed to it without negotiation. We do not bother them. They do not demonstrate their full capabilities. Everyone benefits. Is it fair? The young trader asked. Fair? Calvex's scales rippled with bitter humor. Fairness is a concept for philosophers. This is survival. The galaxy learned a simple truth: humanity offers friendship freely but defends their children absolutely. Testing that boundary costs everything. Respecting it costs nothing. The young trader left thoughtfully. Calvex returned to his comfortable cell, his permanent home, his eternal reminder. Through the window, he watched a human family transport pass by, its hull decorated with colorful paintings made by children. It traveled without escort, without weapons visible, without fear. Inside were families living their lives, children playing, parents working, all protected by something more powerful than any fleet. They were protected by a rule everyone knew but nobody needed to write down. Never bother humans. Especially their children. The galaxy had learned this lesson through the complete erasure of those who had forgotten it. Calvex would spend the rest of his life making sure no one forgot again. And somewhere in the depths of human space, concealed technologies remain dormant, waiting. Hoping never to be needed again. But ready, always ready, if anyone was foolish enough to test the unwritten rule. The galaxy was at peace. And it would stay that way, as long as everyone remembered the one simple truth. Some boundaries were absolute.